All right. Sunday morning, still a little bit early, got up. I get up kind of early. And I wouldn't normally be fucking around with this camera this early in the morning. But I saw something very disturbing to me, very disturbing. And here to lament the loss of clearly this scholar in training, MscleMike, who took exception with my most recent video about protein, digestion, bioavailability, and assimilation. So let me show you what he writes. He writes, "Oh my fucking God, just watch Rick's Corner, Rick Drasin, about protein intake. You can eat 1,000 grams of protein on a meal, but the body can't assimilate more than 30 grams. Ah, that's why bodybuilders eat 10 to 12 meals a day every 3 hours. Fucking unsubscribe, first of all. If you really believe somebody's eating 10 to 12 meals a fucking day, you're gonna find cats like that few and far between. 10 to 12 meals a day, it's a lot of fucking eating, bro. All right, let's say, I don't even know where to begin with this anymore. I don't even know where to begin. Anyhow, first thing is I'm fucking heartbroken, all tore up because you unsubscribed MscleMike. First I thought it said Magic Mike, and I just figured you were mistaken and you tuned into the wrong fucking place. As far as Rick Drasin, you invoke the name of Rick Drasin. Well, let me tell you about Rick Drasin. Rick Drasin is certified, verified, fucking legend in bodybuilding. So I'm not going to say anything negative about Rick Drasin, even to the point that if Rick Drasin came out tomorrow and said, "The sky is a lovely shade of green," it'll make me wonder if maybe I'm not colorblind and the sky is a lovely shade of green. And even if I don't think it is, I am not going to dispute Rick Drasin. Rick Drasin is one of the few that I would say is untouchable. Don't care what he says. It's all okay to me. I just want to hear him say it. I don't care what it is. He can say whatever he wants to say. He's Rick Drasin. But I did go and look at the video because I like Rick Drasin. Otherwise, I wouldn't even fucking looked at it. I don't need to fucking verify what I say from somebody else. I know what works for me. And here's what I discerned from the video and a couple other videos of Rick's, is that Rick himself, when he was in his prime and looking awesome, which he did, he took in more than 30 grams of protein at a time. Have you ever seen the way he describes that they ate back in the golden era of bodybuilding? When he talks about a place that had half-pound burgers where they would go and eat, and what he'd have for breakfast and so forth and so on. And yeah, he had several meals. He had low carb, high protein, but they took in, they would have a breakfast like eggs, some steak, maybe cottage cheese, or maybe a protein drink with it. I think you're over your 30 gram limit right there. But anyway. And also, I can't really say anything bad about Rick Drasin because if I said anything about Rick Drasin negative, Christ, Dan would have a fucking fit. He'd be ready to fucking fight me because Dan fucking loves Rick Drasin. But I do too, so Rick Drasin, I ain't gonna say anything about Rick Drasin. However, I didn't hear Rick Drasin say that. I heard Jerry Barnum say that, or Barnium, or Branium, or whatever the fuck, who's actually like a writer. And when Jerry was actually working out back in his day, he would have called bullshit on that and had been willing to bet somebody $10,000 that it was wrong and not true, bullshit. It's only recently now that he reads more than he trains that he agrees or that he thinks it's true. But in practice, for him, That's not what he thought was true when he was doing it and getting it done. When he was accomplishing something, it's not what he thought was true. It's not what he employed. He didn't follow that advice. He thought it was bullshit. And you know what? I think it's bullshit too. So unsubscribe twice. What do you think of those apples? There's so much things you're not considering there. If you're limiting yourself to 30 grams, okay, does that mean that you think you can just eat 30 grams a sitting and because that's your limit to what you believe you can assimilate? Let's pretend you're correct for a minute. You ever consider digestion times? You ever consider the source of that protein, where it came from, the bioavailability of that particular protein? So are you talking 30 grams from egg, 30 grams from whey, 30 grams from beef, 30 grams from fucking something else, soy, right? Incomplete shit. I don't know what you're talking about, but all of these things you can, get what you need out of, all right? If you consume, in my opinion, an incomplete protein alongside a complete protein, even in uneven ratios, you can still turn that shit to muscle. So I would say that depending on your choice of protein, it's going to vary. It's just too much for you to sit there and try and calculate. You want to be a fucking mathematician or statistician, or do you want to build muscle? You want to just get it done, or do you want to fucking sit around and debate it and scribble on paper and, get out your Arabicus or whatever the fuck you use to calculate this shit? Because if I can only get 30, if I'm limited, if the magic number is 30 grams that I can assimilate, all right, say I eat a big piece of beef. 30 grams isn't like injected into my bloodstream. It has to be digested, and it's going to be over a long period of time. What if I drink fucking 50 grams of milk? I just chug down a whole bunch of milk. That milk, like 20% of it's whey, and the remainder is casein, basically, pretty much sources of protein in that milk. Now, that milk takes hours to digest, okay? Hours. I mean, drink some milk and see how long it bloats your fucking stomach, how long it's there, even if you drink lactose-free milk. So don't tell me it's the lactose that's doing all the bloating. It's contributing, but it's not doing all the bloating. Now, as that is digested, that protein is digested, there's never going to be that 30 grams just released into the bloodstream all at one time for you to even push your 30-gram limit. It's going to trickle. It's going to be slowly released. Now, if my source is coming from whey isolate, especially like a hydroslate, let's just say whey, okay? If my choice is coming from whey, the bioavailability of that is like, it's got a score of like 104 or something. I mean, it's off the fucking chart. Now, does that mean I think that is a 1-to-1 ratio? That for every gram of whey I ingest, that's a gram that is going to become available to my body and to my muscles in the bloodstream, broken down into its amino acids? I don't think so. Because the degradation present in the whey, just from the preparation of the whey and how they've extracted it, how I treat that protein molecule, which is rather fragile. Maybe I even destroy some of it just in shaking a fucking shaker up, much less what a blender does. But these are little teeny fragments of things that you can't get hung up and stuck on, because it's just too fucking much. You'd be there the rest of your life just trying to figure this shit out rather than getting it done and actually building the muscle. But my point is, if you're going to limit yourself to 30 grams, say you eat 30 grams of some kind of meat, are you going to cook that meat or you're going to eat it raw? Even if you eat it raw, okay? Because if you cook it, you're denaturing and destroying protein. If you cook it, theoretically, you're destroying as much as 40% of that protein, of the value in that fucking piece of meat. 40%. So there you go. What happens to your limit of 30 grams? If you limit yourself to 30 grams and that's how you're going to weigh out your piece of fucking meat, then you cook that piece of meat, your body ain't never seeing 30 grams to even have an opportunity to try to assimilate 30 grams. Okay, so whatever's left gets in your fucking stomach, tries to digest this shit, and even admittedly, if you look at the corrected amino acid profile or whatever it is, right, along with the PER table, which they considered it, that's the that's actually stronger than the actual PER rating itself. If you even look at that, the corrected amino acid scores, there's a footnote that they even say that the flaw in this is that they don't consider individual digestibility. Everybody's different. Then when you get into older guys, all right, we have what's called anabolic resistance, or whatever the fuck that shit's called, that supposedly and allegedly we need more protein because we have an issue with assimilating protein to begin with. So to get your 30 grams, we would need even more. So by the time you go through all these steps, you cooked it, you destroyed 40% of it, let's say, or let's say you even destroyed 20% of it, something special about you and the way you cook. Then you're going to eat it. Now it's got to digest. The time, it's never going to be 30 grams just dumped into your fucking bloodstream. It's little bit by little bit trickled in, all right? And then how much of it survives the digestive process. So you see what happens if you're limiting yourself to 30 grams at a time? You know how much of that's actually getting to the muscle? You're probably getting 10 grams to the fucking muscle or something like that. It's, believe me, I'll tell you right now that all of us, the number that we pick for our protein, our requirement daily, be it 200 grams, 300 grams, whatever the fuck it is, right? You're never getting that. You're never going to get that. If I take in 300 grams, 350 grams a day, I'm not getting 300 grams or 350 grams. It's just a number, right? Because there's no way to ever know exactly how much. It's just a scale. It's just something for me to measure. It's a measuring stick. It's like a scale that's broken. It's always off 5 fucking pounds. It's still useful if it's consistently off by the same amount. I can still see loss and gain, right? And I can take that along with a fucking fat caliper, pair of calipers for measuring body fat, and I can still figure out how much muscle I've gained, how much fat I've lost, or muscle I've lost, or whatever. Still a useful tool. And that's what we got. It's all we got. It's the best we got. But my point is, if you're going to limit yourself to that 30 gram mark, you're going to fall way short. Now, want some proof? All right. How do you know that your body's getting all the protein it can possibly handle? If you're completely full and you're getting all you can get and your body cannot use any more, the body has to rid it somehow. It gets rid of it, excretes it. It doesn't just vanish into the air. So guess how you get rid of it? You get rid of excess nitrogen in the form of ammonia. You sweat it out and you piss it out. So, as unsavory as this may sound, it's true. I know it to be true because it happens to me and I've known it a long time, and I try and fall just under that, but I'm there. I know what it is. I recognize it. And it happens to a lot of other guys, same as me. It's not just me. If you're getting in more than you can possibly utilize, when you sweat, it will smell like urine. It'll smell like fucking piss. That's how you can tell. I mean, you used to have nitrogen sticks you could piss on, but all that's going to tell you is if there's nitrogen in your urine, which would also be an early indicator of kidney duress. But in us, it's a little different than that. All right, because the molecule's supposed to be too big to pass through the filters in the kidney, right? But it still does. And to some extent, well, it just is. It's normal for us. It doesn't denote, future failing kidneys. It just is what it is. But out of an abundance of caution, and the reason I have such longevity, I consider that and I try and fall under that mark. I don't really like to sweat and smell like piss. But in my younger days, when I was really big, again, when I was actually at my peak, I got in a lot of protein. And I was enormous, and I sweat and it smelled like piss. Night sweats smell like piss. So why do I sweat so much? Because when you get ready for competition, you actually take in like double the protein you need. You try to, even if you can't hit that number. So why would anybody ever take in that amount of protein? Huge amounts of protein. So Jerry's scratching his head wondering, why do people take in 600 grams of protein? You can't utilize that, Nasser. Right? You saw the video, didn't you? That's what you fucking throwing up my face. The reason why is we don't know when he was taking that much in. Maybe he was taking that much in around the period of time where he was getting in shape for a show. Because you know what everybody does? Except for you. Everybody cranks their protein up madman high when they get ready for a show. And that is one key reason why everybody's so big today. So much bigger. Because we know that. If you turn that protein up mad high, you become a fucking incinerator and you actually dig a hole. You create a caloric deficit. So you're still feeding that muscle, nurturing that muscle that way. And that muscle is going to be retained because it's fucking saturated with protein, more than it can ever use. And your body's going to take the remainder of that way over fucking load of protein. It takes the remainder. Still is responsible for having to deal with that. Still has to synthesize and metabolize that excess fucking protein. And in its effort to do so, it creates a caloric deficit. It costs more in the attempt for your body to do that than the value of the fucking protein calorie for calorie. You burn more calories with the protein up that high trying to manage the excess protein. Now, am I suggesting that's a way to live? No, because that's way too much protein, and if you did that for a long period of time, you're going to have problems. But you know what? In this game, there's a lot of things that guys do for a short period of time that seems to have no ill effect. But you wouldn't do it a long period of time. Body likes things in cycles, like I've always said. So the protein, when I get ready to compete, when I was biggest possible, I actually took in, tried to hit over 600 grams a day. Just some solid foods, no supplements. I never hit the 600 mark, I don't think. I think I might have hit the 600. I actually had 2 different diets written up. One was ideal, where I was going to try and hit 700. That's the ideal for me there when I weighed. Well, I competed at 252 at that time. But I never hit that 700 every day. I always went over 6. And I felt like an incinerator. I was super hot all the time, sweating all the time. And it just felt like a vacuum was in me, pulling my insides tighter while everything got bigger. And I could actually grow into the show. Yeah, as tracking the body fat percentages, I could actually gain muscle near the end. I actually got bigger as I got leaner. And that's how it's done. And that's why guys are so fucking huge today. That's a big part of it. I mean, everybody wants to say drugs, but it's as much nutrition. And nobody starves off the fat anymore. That's old school thinking, caloric deficit to lose fat. That's what all the regular people do. That's not really what we do in competition. You can ask, and pretty much any kind of pro bodybuilder or any high level bodybuilder who's really huge, and that's what everybody does. The protein is higher when you're getting ready for a show, and that's why. That's why, a lot higher. Anyway, that's about it. I'm beating this to death. If you disagree and you unsubscribe, well, it breaks my motherfucking heart. Of course, I don't know how we will all continue here without you, but it is what it is. And I'd just like to say to everybody else out there, there are no hard, fast rules in this game. The only hard, fast rules I have written in a book, and I'm going to show them to you right now. Just 1 second. Oh, man. All right. See this book? This book has the hard, fast rules in it. So let's see if you're right about the 30 grams and some more things. Let's see what other kind of fucking interesting facts are in here. Just as I thought. Here are the hard, fast rules. Nothing's in there. You know why? There are no hard, fast rules. Anything that I tell you, anything Rick Drasin tells you, anything that, and I'm not putting myself in his category by any means, anything that you read, any study, anything anybody says to you, any information that you manage to extract from anywhere, you have to take this shit like you're fixing a soup. You add in what suits you, you push aside what doesn't. If it works, it works. Because ultimately, your goal is not to sit around and like you're on a fucking forum and just talk to each other and jerk each other off in a fucking circle jerk all day about arguing over these little teeny tidbits. Your goal should be to build the motherfucking physique you're after. And you know how you do that? You don't do it by talking about it. You do it by actually wrapping your motherfucking dick beater around the fucking weighted bar. That's how you do it. And by eating the fucking protein. That's how you do it. So, you either want to go get it done, build the fucking body, or you want to argue all these fucking intrinsic, fucking ethereal little teeny facts and figures. But all these dudes, when they were huge, ain't a single one of these motherfuckers limited themselves to 30 grams of motherfucking sitting. That's insane. Insane when you consider source, digestibility, your own body's ability to digest it. Are you enhanced? Are you not enhanced? Are you taking digestive enzymes? What are you doing to help digest? What do you do to care for your digestive system? Nothing? Don't know what to do? Okay, so you think you can digest the same as this guy next to you, or me, or another guy, or maybe you're better, or maybe you're not, or there's no way to ever know all this thing. So everything that you hear is just for you to take in, think about it as a sentient fucking individual being, think about it, and take from it what you can to make your game stronger. That's all there is to it. Everything that works for me ain't gonna work for the next guy. And everything that works for the next guy maybe ain't gonna work for me. So that's what this is about. This is not a motherfucking team sport here. It's not a team effort. It's individual. We all have this camaraderie. We're all part of the same fucking group. We're all part of the same fucking cult, basically. But every man's got to lift his own weight and clear his own plate. Lift your weight, clear your plate. So, other than that, fuck is this guy's name? Magic Mike? Magic Mike, you may be a hell of a dancer, but you got a ways to go for learning about eating. You take care. Have an awesome day. It's been nice knowing you. Peace out, homie.